Good evening and welcome to the public hearing. Today is July 9th, 2019. Again, this is the public hearing on the designated outdoor refreshment area, also known and referred to as DORA. I ask if anybody wants floor time either in favor or against or opposed to DORA. I would ask that you sign up at the podium. If you already have, I'll ask that you stand, state your opinion for or against, and we'll go from there. There's no designated time against how much, there's no time limit for the time that you have to speak, but I do ask that you be mindful of your time. I ask that we not argue. We're just here to get facts and state our opinions on the DORA issue. And council is here to hear it as well. Did anyone sign up? Just one?
Just one.
Mayor Snyder.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm actually going to take my mayor hat off and put on my former Main Street board member hat. Unique position that I was co-chairman of the DORA committee. I was approached by Main Street back in 17, the fourth quarter of 17. The Main Street board had determined that DORA was a viable option to attract additional foot traffic through our downtown area. The committee was comprised of myself, Mike Roeder, Mike Zipfel, and Nikki and Nicole from the chamber. So 3 Mikes and 2 Nicks, full house there. We met quite often, looked at what other communities have done to create the DORA in their areas, took several field trips to DORA's to experience it firsthand, and spoke with the DORA organizers, the shopkeepers, the restaurant owners, even the wait staff in various establishments to get the pros and cons. I spoke with law enforcement on their issues and concerns. When we came back here locally, we spoke with I think 17 potential license holders in the designated DORA area. Spoke with all but a couple of those. Our schedules just didn't officially. Spoke with all but 2 of those. Had informal conversations. Spoke with folks in other businesses, in some of the clergy in the designated area. Had conversations with those folks. Looked at, revised, changed the parameters, the scale, some of the wording. It was a long drawn-out process to get where we are today. I think our final product was February or March of this year. We submitted that for council's review and the law director to review, make some suggestions. We revised those a couple of times as well. I want to thank Nikki and Nicole for all of their hard work on getting that, and Mr. Martin for getting that finalized and to council, and here we are today for our second reading. Everything we've, in my opinion, and I'll certainly like the other folks on the committee to step up and correct me or add anything to it. I think what we discovered is it has been a tool that has worked wonders in various communities. Toledo actually has 2 DORAs, and one of them they're getting ready to expand to almost twice the size of its current location. Based on our population, we are about at the max size that we can get. But Toledo's had no problems. Chief Hickman, did you speak with the police chief, or was it Nicole? I know someone had a conversation with the police chief. I can't remember exactly who it was, of Toledo, and there were no increased negative activities because of the existence of the DORA. And I know several council members have participated in the DORA in Toledo. There are 21 or 22 throughout the state of Ohio that have been created since we first started to discuss this, in all matter of cities, big and small, throughout the state of Ohio. There will be signage up at the borders surrounding the area. You can't just walk out of the establishment with a glass bottle or a can of beer or the glass of wine or whatnot. Just before you leave the establishment will pour that into a plastic cup, clearly designated as a DORA cup. There's specific parameters on what has to be on that cup, including the 3 basic rules. Basically, don't act a fool is what those 3 rules boil down to. signage in all of the establishments, describing what a DORA is, what you can do, what you can't do. And then that's what it is. They found that in the establishments, it's helped turnover, so it increases foot traffic in the establishments. Gets more families in the seats for the dining establishments. And they've seen increased attendance in some of their outdoor festivities because of the ability to, as you can imagine, walk around a car show or an art festival or whatever it might be. Anything I'm forgetting?
The age that participates is about 40,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Toledo did a study, and their average user of a DORA cup is 40.
I do remember the answer, but for those that may not know, how is it that the businesses go about getting the cups?
Sure. They actually have to sign up with Main Street. Although this is created by legislative action, it's not the city that administers this. It's done by a third party. In this case, it's going to be Main Street. There are fees that are established to help Main Street establish the DORA, put up the signs, acquire the cups. The cups are then purchased from Main Street by the various establishments. All the revenue that's generated from this goes back into the Main Street coffers to do the things that Main Street does to help improve and grow and revitalize our downtown Main Street area.
So how many have signed up for the DORA?
12.
We have letters from 12 people, 12 businesses and such.
It's required to have a minimum of 4 to establish the DORA in the designated area. There's nothing that says those other 4 or 5 can't join in at a later date.
We needed 4 to send down to the state.
Questions or comments? Yes.
Where is the area going to be?
Adams Street on the east, the railroad tracks on the south, Monroe on the west, south of the river, over the river, and through the woods, over the river, and basically everything in the city limits north of the drawbridge. From the yacht club all the way down to the old Moose. There's a trash removal plan that's in place as part of the DORA, that's a requirement. There's an enforcement plan that Chief Hickman worked on, that's a requirement of the DORA. You'll see additional trash cans throughout that designated area.
In your studying this, putting it together, and I'm for it 100%. But what did you see as negative? Anything, in your opinion?
I have not come across anything negative. There have been some individuals in the community that
No,
have
in your
concerns.
visits out.
Oh, there
Visits out.
really hasn't been. Trash has not been an issue. The administering of it, there in Toledo, there have been some people getting out of the establishment without the DORA cup. Minimal. Age things haven't been an issue. One of the things that the very first visit we had with Toledo, their biggest concern before they implemented it was the homeless population and them getting a hold of a DORA cup. But they've not seen that at all. So, and that in theory is something we don't necessarily have to worry about.
Thank you.
Did anybody else?
No, I mean, most of the negatives were perceptions, and as soon as Toledo enacted their DORA, they worked the bulk of those out. You know, they were worried about people getting out with cups. They were worried about, like you said, the homeless population, and a lot of that, you know, just didn't happen. It was resolved right away.
I'm gonna go back to another. I just thought of one of the things that the DORA administrator pointed out is with the increase in the trash cans downtown, they're seeing more residential trash than DORA related or normal street activity related trash. So the people that are living in the apartments upstairs are using the additional trash receptacles as dumpsters.
Is there going to be like a time restriction on this?
Thank you. 7 days a week, noon or 11? Noon to midnight.
365.
Yeah. And that was another thing. the folks in Toledo and a couple other establishments said, once you establish it, keep it simple. Don't make this day from 2 to 4 and that day 7 to 9. Keep it consistent. That way it avoids any confusion down the road. Toledo had an issue a couple years ago where they had several activities in the downtown area, and their police chief suspended the door, and that caused a whole bunch of issues, and he said he'd never do that again. So, in so many words, that's what he said.
We do know that there will be an education process, not only with us, but all the bars and the servers, and posters are being made, table tents are being, and we'll have people, we'll make sure that every bar is given an opportunity that we visit them individually and sit down and talk with either the management or the staff to help, go over all the rules.
And on the personal, originally, we were, as a committee, we were kind of targeting Memorial Day weekend to get it going. And personally, I think it's probably better now. Third reading will happen at the next council meeting. If it should be adopted, then 30 days later it would go into effect, which would be towards the end of our season. I think if we work with the local community to get through the winter and work out any bugs that may arise, that much better than jumping into it with, tons of people in our community.
Mr. Schneider? Only question I received from someone was Waterworks Park and the beer tent or Walleye Festival. Will anything go there, or do they have to steer clear of it, or what?
The Walleye Festival is outside of the Dora range. There's 15,000 different liquor licenses, and the, like better term, the beer tent liquor license doesn't coincide with a Dora. There may be some changes at the state level coming that would permit that, but right now, Waterworks Park, nothing will change with the Walleye Festival and any other festivals in the park and their beer tents, Rock the Light, that won't be impacted at all.
That was the only question I had. The rest of them were easy to answer for people because it simply was letting them know what I already knew from having been in Toledo or having heard the conversations here. It seems to be fairly easy to understand, actually, which is a surprise for people.
Ladies, did you by chance bring the cup with you? I can't remember the 3 rules, but they're really simple. Keep the beverage in the cup, don't walk out of the area, and I can't remember the 3rd one.
Don't take it back in.
Don't take it into another establishment.
I watched it happen in Toledo. Yeah, and they were very adamant about, no, you can't come back with that cup, we won't give you what you like. And I feel like it had the map on it. The women's, I feel like, maybe in the very beginning, because we went to Toledo when they first established it. And I believe at that time the cup actually had a map on it. But that was a couple of years ago.
Have you got any specific numbers on economic numbers or patrons number gains for the communities?
No, Toledo purchased 100,000 cups their first year, but I don't have any numbers as what that equals. Bless you. What's down?
This is no different than a regular ordinance. In other words, if there's a complication, can we file an amendment?
Absolutely.
It has to be revised or looked at every 3 years.
3 or 5 years.
Council
3 years.
decides in 3 years that it's not working out, it can be a
3 years, it's up to the service, 5 years for the council when the districts.
Yes.
I was just asking about if we run into any complications, we can file an amendment on it.
Just like any other ordinance.
Yeah. Thank you.
Madam President.
Mr. Martin?
I would point out in section 7 that something that probably needs to be addressed was overlooked, but line 4 indicates, says, as is required by section 4301.82 F1G of the Ohio Revised Code, beer and intoxicating liquor shall only be served in plastic bottles or other plastic containers, which shall be provided by the qualified permit holders in readily identified containers, which would be the cups that were have been talked about and proposed in the application. It did not in the application indicate that the name of the establishment that is serving the beverage, as approved by the city's chief of police, would be printed on those cups, and I would suggest that that council would need to readdress that, because it's not listed like that in the application, nor is it a requirement of the code that I'm aware of, that the liquor establishment needs to be on the cup. Section 7, page 2 of the ordinance.
Sorry, Mr. Martin, you said that the name of the establishment should be?
Should not be.
Should not.
That is not a requirement, and
They aren't until you-
I don't recall that ever being part of the application that was submitted by the mayor.
Mike, I sent you a copy of the cup. I have it back with the rules. I just sent it to you.
Yes, you did, look at that.
It has the sponsor and then the 3 rules. It has the hours, it looks like. Cannot carry cups into another business. And cups must stay within the boundaries. So-
So your suggestion is ask council to strike that line?
They would have some sort of amendment that should be discussed before.
Anybody else have anything?
President. I can for the reevaluation, because the safety service director and I are going to sit down every 6 months. But with our new CAD system, we could actually put a more violations, so we could actually track these statistic-wise. So when this comes back up, we'll know yes, no, how many violations. So we can create that in our CAD program for more violations.
I think everybody's thirsty. I think that's the problem. We don't have enough.
Are the cups recyclable?
They are. They are. The question was, are the cups recyclable? Yes, they are.
We've learned a great deal about recycling.
Plastic cups, yes. Did you know you can only recycle things so many times before you can't recycle them anymore?
No clue.
Yeah.
And polymers on their last cycle of being recycled are a hot commodity. Twice recycled cups are cheap and easy to get, but 9 times recycled cups are expensive and a long waiting time.
We did find a local person to do the cups for us, who will be doing the printing, Imprint logo. Gave us a very good deal on all the cups, so we're excited that we'll be able to use a member to do all the printing for this.
Will we be having an officer on foot downtown, chief, or just normal patrol like you guys do?
Well, it all depends. Probably on peak weekends, we will probably have 2 officers assigned in the district, either on foot, on bikes, or in the cars. But remember, the peak times that we're talking about, we have 3 officers assigned each shift.
Right. Thank you.
Sorry, my daytime job just texted me. How many, just curious, other than those on the committee and the council that took the field trip, how many have been to a DORA? Toledo? Toledo? DORA, designated outdoor refreshment area downtown.
All right. I don't have no objection to it. Does anybody in the audience have an objection to it? Mrs. Beverly, will you note that nobody said
You have to start talking since they said talk.
Nobody has any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes.
So I know there's a restriction on bringing cups back into establishments with alcohol. Are there restrictions on taking cups into other stores? Do they put their own policy up for that? Or is it
I'm gonna, the law has changed, I think, so I'm gonna defer to Mr. Wilbur. When we first started all this investigation, it was you can't go into anything. That may have changed, and it's up to the individual store to establish that. Is that?
I'll have to double check. I had not seen that. I'll ask them when I check.
Okay.
I believe the state ordinance changed on the 29th of March to allow establishments to put a sticker in their window that says Dora Mora friendly, and allow non-permit holding establishments may allow cups into their establishment. Is my understanding is how this rule changed.
Is that something then that, Main Street would then offer the stickers to the establishments? Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Don't get back to the fireman's convention more than 1 year.
Then he said the 3.
1 year it was, but man, I tell you what. It was something else.
Madam President, having participated in Toledo's outdoor refreshment area, I think the rules sound much more complicated when you're hearing them, but it's real simple. You ask for a to-go cup, you go out the door, you stroll along the sidewalk, drink your drink, put it in the recycling bin. I mean, we were at a concert waiting in line for a while. People in our group wanted another one. You got rid of that cup, you went back into the establishment, they gave you a new cup. And it's really simple. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't. It just sounds like there's a lot of rules, but it's pretty simple.
And that was, when you mentioned that staying in line, I remember a conversation, should click something up here. One of the things that Toledo found, that the cups are being used to go from point A to point B. Going from, I'm gonna meet you over here, so they take them over with them.
Madam President, and just to add to that, the times we have been up there, there's been little to no police presence at all. The liquor establishments basically police themselves. There's going to be a learning curve, don't get me wrong, and I understand that. But the times we've been there, we've seen little to no police presence at all.
It's still up to the establishment. If someone is intoxicated, they still have the responsibility to not let that person have any more to drink or walk out with a drink. So.
And Mr. Snyder, another question that was brought up in my mind. We tend to think of beer because it's easy to transport in little cups. What about mixed drinks and wine? Is that dependent on what the establishment's license is?
Correct. Anything can come out of the establishment in the door.
Or you could even have Coca-Cola or Pepsi if you want to, right? It just is, we just keep thinking beer because it's so transportable.
There'll be a lot of Pepsi. She likes
Maybe
it.
a little truck car to drink in it.
Still is.
And we've never seen anybody out of control, crazy, and we've been up there all hours, you know, leaving hockey games and things, and people are not out of control at all. So, you know, it just sounds like it's creating this huge party atmosphere, and that's not what it's intended to be, and I don't believe that that's what we'll see at all.
Someone made a good comment. Someone made a good comment to me that why are people from Port Clinton any different than people from Newark or Cincinnati or Columbus or Lorraine or Dayton or all these other places that already have doors? These same people come in and visit our community. You know, why are we expecting any different results than what other locations have seen?
Right.
Any other comments?
So it's clear that this room is all on board, but are there major reservations from council? I mean, it seems like everyone has been in pretty much support in this room, but we haven't heard any negativity. Is anyone willing to comment on that, of reservations?
I heard a lot of negativity about it. I voiced all that in prior meetings. They had the opportunity to come tonight and voice that, but I don't really see it in here, so I don't know that I need to bring a lot of that up.
I haven't had anyone, I've had questions, but I haven't had any negative remarks or anything on this.
Over the course of the time it's been discussed, a lot of the concerns have been addressed over and over again with the trash, with how it works, and a lot of that's come up for us the whole night.
So those issues were addressed.
Right, anything that was a potential issue or a fear, a lot of it was worked out with, making what it actually is, not what they think it might be.
And the people who expressed concerns to me, I encouraged them to go visit a community that had an outdoor refreshment area. And they did that, and the reservations they put to rest, they're kind of like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
Madam President,
Mr. Yule?
the Planning and Development Committee will take up the ordinance 2019 on July 23rd at 7 p.m. That's ahead of the next scheduled city council meeting, July 23rd at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments, questions, concerns, reservations? Anything else for the good of the order? We're going to end the public hearing as our regular session will start in about 2 minutes. Thank you all.